That framework I had in my mind, that faulty thinking, is one of the reasons why I would sabotage myself immediately when I would hit a goal weight. Have you ever had this experience where you have dieted really hard, you've worked really hard, you get down to your goal weight or close to it, and then you gain it all back? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video, because many people's approach to exit dieting is what is sabotaging their success for a new life at a different weight. Hi, my name is Jen. I make videos about midlife, fitness, beauty, all the good stuff. I am a 52-year-old mom of two, and I love fitness, bodybuilding, and I'm here to share some stuff that I've learned along the way, and hopefully that's helpful. So let's get started on this. I can share from my personal experience. This has happened to me more than once, where I have worked toward what I think is going to be like the goal weight. And I've gotten there many times where I've gotten there. And I had this misleading thought throughout the whole process, which was, once I get to my goal weight, I can eat like everybody else. And this is part of this dysfunctional thinking that I had, because I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. My perception about how people ate and what was normal eating was very skewed. So I perceived that people in general, like all people, would be able to eat whatever they wanted with no consequences. And I wanted to be able to eat like that. I just made a new word. That exactual framework, that framework I had in my mind, that faulty thinking, is one of the reasons why I would sabotage myself immediately when I would hit a goal weight, because I would assume that now that I've gotten down this far, I can go back to eating the way I was eating that got me at the weight I didn't want to be at in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense about how dysfunctional this thinking is. So let's say on average, I was eating 3,000 calories and my maintenance calories around 2,200 calories. And that means I'm taking in probably about 800 extra calories a day. Now, science tells us that 3,500 additional calories is all it takes to put on a pound of fat. So you could easily see, if I'm taking in 800 extra calories than I need daily, well, I will very quickly put on weight, because 8 times 7 is 56. So 5,600 calories. I believe 8 times 7 is 56. We're going to go with that, people. So that's already over what would be required for me to put on a pound of fat. So if I'm not adjusting how I eat, then I'm bound to bounce right back. This is part of the problem that we have with people who are using intermittent fasting, people who go carnivore, and if they choose a lifestyle, not staying in that lifestyle, but trying to go back to either eating carbohydrates or, eating fruit. Listen, I've done it all. I've done keto. I've done paleo. I've done so much extremely low fat. I've done Weight Watchers. I've done videos about my whole path through fitness. I have done just about every single diet that is out there, all with the same result. Once I got to the weight I wanted to be, this magical place in my mind, which I did hit a number of times, I would go back to my old way of eating and eventually find myself back where I started. So what really needs to happen is we need to adjust the exit of a diet. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this right now is, in my previous video, I talked about how my coach had recommended I end my competition prep for this season, which was really hard to hear. I didn't want to exit, but I knew in my mind it was the right thing to do. My body is not responding like it needs to in order for me to look good on stage. I have 9 weeks left to my first show, and I have 10 pounds left. to not even meet my previous stage weight, to be 5 pounds above my previous stage weight. So really, I was not gaining the momentum that we were hoping. And at this point, we would have to slash calories to such an unhealthy level and increase cardio so much that the squeeze is not worth the juice. It's just not worth my health at this point. And frankly, being the age that I am, I have very little tolerance for BS. Like if it's working, it's working. If it's not, it's not. We let go, move on. There's more important things to worry about. So that being said, how do we exit a diet? So this is how you exit a diet. In my previous videos, I talked about finding your maintenance calories and finding a way to be able to figure out what deficit you need to lose a certain amount of weight per week. So for example, we were hoping for me to lose about 1 pound a week. So that meant that I was in a deficit of about 500 to 600 calories daily, but I also had cardio. Now, technically that should work. It worked last time, no problem. But as our bodies age, our metabolisms change, and no show prep is the same. Your body changes year to year. There could be hormonal things at play that can make things more difficult as well. So the way we are exiting this prep and the way we are exiting this diet is the very first thing. We are not putting me at maintenance right away, which I normally do when I'm exiting a show prep. We will go to maintenance calories almost right away just to restore healthy hormone levels and healthy fat levels. Just shy, maybe 200 to 300 calories shy of maintenance, but we increased my carbohydrates by about 30 grams a day. We increased my fats by 10 grams a day. And we also increased my protein because I want to do a little recomposition. So my protein is at 140 grams a day. We increased that to 145. Will that 5 grams make a huge difference? Probably not, but it makes me feel good. I eat a lot of protein. It's not hard for me to get that down. So, the higher protein levels, dogs are barking. Sorry about that. I needed to take care of my dog who was going crazy over a groundhog. So where I was at is I increased my protein, I increased my carbohydrates, and I increased my fats just a little bit. So we're putting me at about 1,800 calories to start to exit the diet. The idea is that we're going to go to maintenance eventually and just spend some time there hardening up. So that way the next prep, which will probably be next spring, won't be as hard and won't be as much of a journey because I clearly had about 25 pounds to lose before the prep. So I was up to about 145 pounds. I'm 5'6", and my stage weight last time was 120 pounds. So I got down to 136 pounds. My normal everyday weight before I started bodybuilding was about 135 pounds. In the event of like adding muscle and building and cutting, that began to change a little bit. So this is what we're doing. We have a strategic plan for exiting. So this is one of the things I suggest you do. If you want to exit dieting, it doesn't matter what dieting you're doing. Don't change exactly the makeup of your food yet. Change the portions of your food to increase just slightly. Keep in mind that carnivore, I can't even speak to it that well because it's just not something I've experienced. The scientific community really is not very supportive of the carnivore diet, but I do know it works well for some people. Realize that you've eliminated entire food groups. So you are in a calorie deficit, most likely because of that. The same thing with intermittent fasting. It is a calorie deficit. So you need to find a way, like with intermittent fasting, I would increase your eating window a little bit, but don't go crazy with that food. And with carnivore, I would increase the different types of food just slightly so it's not too different. Okay, in the process of doing this film, there have been many interruptions. So I left off at when we're exiting dieting, gradually increasing food or increasing groups of food. So the example I gave, carnivore diet, slowly introducing more fruits, more vegetables, and carbohydrates if you're exiting that diet. So in short, whatever diet you are doing, you want to be aware of the calories that you're taking in. So my suggestion is, let's say you hit goal weight and you're super excited. Don't get too excited. Spend a few days and just track your food, track your calories accurately, really, really clearly. So that way you know how much you're taking in. So that way you can slowly begin to add some of those calories or some of those food groups back. So if you are doing keto and you're doing very low carb, you could slowly increase your carbohydrates. And if you're really high in your protein and fats, you can adjust those proteins and fats as you're introducing the carbohydrates back into your diet, because the amount that you had previously in keto is probably going to be greatly reduced when you're going to a more balanced diet if you choose to go that way. The same thing goes if you're in a carnivore diet and you're beginning to exit that, and you decide you want something different. Just don't go all in and throw carbohydrates and starches and vegetables and fruit right in there off the bat. My suggestion to you would be, first, track your calories across the board for a few days so you can accurately see how much food you are taking in, how much energy basically your body is taking in, and then begin to slowly reduce what you are eating as far as the proteins and fats go, and introduce more carbohydrates, fruits, and vegetables in there. So the important thing is, check your motivation. Are you thinking with a faulty mindset like I was, that once I lose all this weight, that I could go ahead and eat like normal people? Like, what's my perception of what normal eating is? It's not eating with impunity anymore. And that's what I used to think, that normal eating was people being able to eat whatever they want and not have any repercussions. That's just not the world we're in. Yes, you can eat anything you want in moderation, but moderation is the key word. So if you are dieting and you want to exit that diet, don't make the mistake that I did. Take your time. It just takes a few days to just observe your calorie intake and then begin to make adjustments. So my suggestion from that point on is use the information that I put in my macro video on dieting. Figure out what your maintenance calories are, and then slowly build up to your maintenance calories. So that way you can eat at a healthy level. You can balance your diet more if you'd like to do that, but you could do that without having too much of a reverse impact. And the other thing I forgot to mention is, it's very common, and this happens a lot with competitors actually, after a long time of dieting, if you go right back into eating all the food that you have been putting off, you are going to set yourself up for massive failure, because you're going to start going headlong in to whatever those cheat foods are, whether it's super sweets or if it's tons of carbs. You want to approach everything very slowly and methodically, because when you come out of a diet, especially an extreme diet like show prep, you are going to be hungry. And when you start eating more, you're going to feel more hungry. Your hunger signals are all messed up when you come out of a large dieting phase. So the more you eat in the beginning, the more hunger signals you have, and you become feeling like ravenous. You wouldn't believe it until you're experiencing it. It's unreal. And it actually requires a little bit more discipline when you go off the rails right out of a diet to pull yourself back. So my suggestion is, be slow and methodical. Don't immediately go to celebratory foods like cakes, ice creams, whatever. Put that off a little bit, because you really want to make sure you nail this exit properly, so that way you can sustain the loss that you had and hopefully move on with a new lifestyle. Remember, what you ate to get you at that weight is going to get you back there after you diet. So if you end a diet and you're really happy with your goal weight, if you go back to your old way of eating, you're going to wind up back there a lot sooner than you think. So be smart, be methodical, and that way you can exit a diet with success and move on with confidence and a new body. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.